Hi everyone, I'm Seb, I'm Senior Product Designer specialized in design systems, software design and development. The last 7 years I spent in Berlin, where I learned everything I know about product design. Currently I'm in Taiwan, where I hope to start my new journey with YouTube channel. In today's video, I will be talking more about how to set up foundations for your design systems. We'll start with creating our very first accessible color palette using Figma, Figma plugins, and accessibility tools. Without further ado, let's begin. The color palette will help us to lay down the foundations of our future design system. I will be also showing you how to not only create a color palette, but how to design accessible components like buttons, drop-down menus, or even patterns. I highly recommend going to the component gallery, where you can browse through countless design systems. I hope this will give you an idea of what the design system is, what's its purpose, and probably you will see that many different companies put focus on different aspects of the design system, like accessibility, layout principles, or motion design. Before we start designing our color palette, I would like to introduce to you Reshape open source component library. Reshape has very interesting approach to color structures. They use global values like most of the design systems, like from 100 to 900, for example green 600. But they also have a semantic color tokens that they are not only representing a value of the color, but also they help you to assign the color based on the role. The other cool thing about Reshape color library is that they have very minimalistic color bucket structures. For example, they don't have separate token for icons and text. They have only foreground colors that represent text elements and icons. So basically they have only backgrounds and foregrounds. All in all, having accessible color palette will lay down foundation for our accessible design system. It's not only accessible, but also it will give us lots of guidance in terms of how to apply color tokens to components. Later on, we don't have to think or reinvent accessibility on top of the components because the colors we created already structure our way of designing consistent components. I suggest we start with the global values first. And in order to set the values that are accessible, let's use APCA algorithm. APCA stands for Accessible Perceptual Contrast Algorithm. That's very close to how the human eye perceives contrast in the natural environment. APCA will help us to define contrast between colors. I will also use WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Their algorithm will help us to define the contrast between text elements and the background, for example, the label of the button component, and the graphical elements and the background, for example, an icon or a small illustration on the background. For the text elements, the recommended ratio is 4.5 to 1, and for the graphical elements, the recommended ratio is 3 to 1. And for APCA, lightness contrast 15, between graphical elements. Now I will show you how to apply all these insights in your design. Feel free to use APCA Contrast Calculator website, but I think it's even more convenient to use the contrast plugin in Figma. You can start by creating a white rectangle in Figma. This will represent the background color of your future application. So then, whenever you create new colors, you can place them on top of the white rectangle, and so we can measure the contrast against the white. I think the best is to start with the accent colors, because the accent colors will give us a foundation for example, grayscale palettes and the rest of the colors in your system. Personally, I will go with a semi-saturated purplish color. It will represent the default color or idle color for all the elements in their initial state. Next, we can draft our second color that will represent hover state. Let's overlap two squares together, open the APCA preview, and use the HSL channel in order to decrease or increase the lightness. And you will see right away how the lightness contrast increases or decreases. So let's find the sweet spot of 15 lightness contrast. And there you have it. Now we can repeat the previous steps in order to create the third color that will be used for components in their active state. Probably you already noticed that it's almost impossible to achieve enough contrast between the darker colors. And that's because APCA is using more accurate algorithms that simulate human contrast perception. And that's also one of the reasons why it's so difficult to design for the dark mode. When you look at the Google products in the dark mode, they don't look that good. And it's not because they don't know how to design color palettes, it's actually because of the accessibility. They try to make the products inclusive and accessible for everyone. I would try to find some time and make a separate video about the dark mode. For now, let's focus on the color for the active state. So what we can do right now is to just choose the right color based on our perception. Let's just adjust a little bit of the saturation and make it as consistent as possible. Then we can repeat the same steps and design the lighter version of our default color. Now I will show you another handy tool that will help you to run consistency check. What you have to do is just to go to the Colors app, copy your first starting color, paste it there, and also copy and paste the end color. Then we have to define the number of colors in our palette. For sake of simplicity, we'll stick to 6 colors. Lastly, copy and paste all the hex values to your Figma project. Finally, we can run some sanity checks. So I will just place circles on top of each color and we'll measure the lightness contrast with an APCA algorithm. For instance, our default color achieved only lightness contrast of 11. That's not good enough to make this palette accessible, so I will quickly check the contrast between each color. As I mentioned before, the lightness contrast gradually decreases with the darker colors, and now you can see this on the larger scale. So what we have to do, we start adjusting the lightness contrast for the darker colors first, and then we go step by step towards the lighter colors. There is another interesting fact about the color perception. You can see that with more saturated colors, the lightness contrast decreases. So of course, if you increase the saturation of the color, you need to adjust the lightness of that color. Another important observation, when you adjust the saturation of the colors, you will notice that the color palette becomes inconsistent and a little bit off. So to fix that, we can take our starting color and the middle color, which is the default, and generate consistent palette. Then we can copy hex values while we still can preserve and maintain a high contrast ratio. And the same steps we can repeat for the default color, the middle one, and the end color. And of course we need to adjust the number of the steps to 3 because we have only 3 colors at the end. Once we improve consistency of our color scale, we can use APCA calculator to check the lightness contrast between the colors. Actually, this is not bad. Personally, I think it's enough to start working on the components for your design system. Of course, we could further improve the accessibility, but this is just an example to show how to work with different tools in order to achieve scalable, consistent, and accessible color palettes. Now I will quickly demonstrate how to create a gray palette out of our primary colors. So let's just duplicate them and decrease the saturation to maybe 2 points, 4 points, depends on your personal feeling. Of course, it would be good to preserve a little bit of tint in order to keep consistent feel and look of our palettes. And then I will repeat the previous exercise and check the lightness contrast between our gray colors. The lightness contrast between gray colors is even higher. So creating our gray color palette out of the primary colors, it's not only making it more consistent, but also more accessible. Now we can create our first collection and document all the global values. Go to right side panel and open local variables. I will create a collection called global values. Then we can add color one by one. In terms of naming convention, feel free to define your own system. I will just go with the agnostic name of the color, like purple, red, blue, and add a numeric value, like hundreds. So for example, my color palette will be purple from 100 to purple to 600. Once we finish, we can cluster all the global values under the group. So let's just select all our global values and group them into a category called purple. Then we can repeat the previous steps and add our gray colors. I would also recommend adding common colors to our palettes. So basically we need white and black. In terms of the black color, you can customize it a little bit by modifying lightness or saturation. Since we have all global values set in place, we can finally move to Alias Tokens. Let's go ahead and let's create another collection called Alias Tokens. Now, let's define the naming convention for our alias tokens. It will guide us how to structure and name colors. We will need the following color buckets: backgrounds and foregrounds. Foreground colors will be used for elements such as text or icons, graphical elements. Each bucket will also have a sentiment, a color modifier that indicates a sentiment of color itself. So for example, color can be primary, secondary, tertiary, or danger, warning, success, and so on. Since in our global palette we only have two groups of colors, purple and gray, purple will be used for the primary sentiment and gray for the neutral sentiment. I did clean up a board a little bit, so we can focus on the remaining buckets. The element is an optional color modifier that can be applied to specific elements like containers or body. For instance, background neutral container could be applied to all UI elements that are above page layer, like drop-down menus, toolbars, cards, pop-ups, or dialog windows. Variant is another optional bucket that will help us to modify colors within the sentiment. So for instance, we could have a neutral colors or danger colors that can be more prominent or subtle. This will give us much broader spectrum of colors that can be applied to components that requires more than one variant. For instance, we could have a button in primary, secondary, or tertiary style. And finally, the last color modifier, state. The state will help us to design accessible components. I would highly recommend to cover at least the basic interactions. So we will need a token in the idle and default state, hover, active, and disabled. In case you would like to add more states, I recommend going to Mozilla Developers page and read about the ARIA attributes. All in all, the following naming convention will help us build and design accessible components. It will also guide you to apply the right tokens. Now we can head back to Figma to our collections so we can add our first alias tokens. I would suggest that we start with the default and idle tokens. So we can add background primary and background neutral. Next, we can link our global values to aliases. For instance, background primary will use purple 300. Then we can create another token called background primary hover and link the next global value, purple 400. As I've mentioned before, it's good to learn more about components before you start creating color palettes. Knowing how the component behaves, its interactions, accessibility requirements will definitely help you to shape your alias tokens and design more accessible color palettes. Now I will create the first group called backgrounds, and I will cluster all the background primary colors under the primary group. For the neutrals group, I will include tokens such as background neutrals page, a token that can be applied to page of your project, background neutrals container that can be applied to all the elements above the page, like drop-down menus, cards, sections, or dialog windows. And even if those two tokens will use white color, pure white color, it's still very important to keep it separate, because once you move to designing tokens for your dark mode, you will realize that the container tokens might use a little bit different hex value in order to emphasize different elevations. Let's proceed with the foreground colors. In order to make them accessible, we'll use the WCAG algorithm. According to WCAG requirements, the minimum contrast ratio for graphical elements such as icons is 3:1, and for text element 4.5:1. That means that if we achieve accessibility for all the text elements, icons will be accessible as well. In product design, quite often designers would use grayish background color for the main app. It's a common technique that helps you to elevate important layout elements such as cards or important sections. So that's why we'll create two frames, one with the pure white and one with the gray 100, in order to measure the contrast ratio between the foreground and background elements. Let's start with our primary text element. So in order to achieve the highest contrast, probably we'll go with the common black. As you can see, the contrast is pretty high. What if you want to add more hierarchy to your UI? Probably would be good to have a secondary style for your text elements. So let's try to find a perfect gray color that is accessible on both white and grayish background color. As you can see, gray 400 doesn't pass the test on the gray background. Let's increase the contrast by changing to gray 500. Finally, it passes all the tests. Next, we can add an accent color. I will browse for purple colors and then create another group within our Alias token collection. I will add the following Alias tokens: foreground primary, foreground neutral, and probably we can create another one called foreground primary inverted. Inverted colors can be used on the primary or neutral colors. Like, for example, if you want to create a button component with a background primary, then in order to have a white text on top of it, we can use foreground primary inverted. You can also add inverted background tokens if needed. For example, background inverted would be black, and in order to have accessible primary tokens, we could create foreground primary on inverted. And that will be the end of the first part. In the second part, I'll be talking more about space fundamentals. So we'll create our first space alias tokens in Figma. And then we'll design our very first button component that is accessible, supported by screen reader and keyboard. In case you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line in the comment sections below. Stay tuned and see you in the next episode.